Tonight, a trio of Democratic lawmakers wants to formally condemn President Trump in Congress for his comments following the violence in Charlottesville. And tonight, we will speak with one of them. Then President Trump needs Republican lawmakers as much as they need him, but the more controversy he causes, the more problems that causes them. Can they continue to support this president without damaging themselves? Also, most of the Republicans just polled approve of the way President Trump handled Charlottesville, and they say his statements about it are accurate. Is that the base we always hear about standing firmly behind it? Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman, in again tonight for Richard French. Before we get to what's been going on here in America, we want to get you the very latest on the terror attack that happened this afternoon in Barcelona, Spain, where more than a dozen people were killed and up to 100 were injured.
Terror in Spain, sending police and paramedics rushing to a major tourist attraction in Barcelona. Stunned eyewitnesses running for cover, confused and terrified.
But somebody was screaming, and then everybody started to run because they're screaming from behind, and everybody just ran forward. And then I'm feel sorry, there's a lot of old people. They must have trampled them as they went past.
Must have been doing 80 to 100 kilometers an hour. He was traveling at high speed, just sort of knocking. There were people being flung into the air.
It happened in the Las Ramblas district on a wide boulevard restricted to pedestrian traffic only, no cars, but around 5 p.m. local time. Authorities say a driver rammed a van into the crowd, running people over before apparently fleeing into a nearby restaurant, with police swarming the area and warning tourists and locals to shelter in place or stay away altogether.
I'd like to start by acknowledging the incident in Barcelona, which has the hallmarks, it appears, of yet another terrorist attack.
U.S. officials monitoring the situation say teams are in place ready to assist Americans in Spain. And President Trump tweeted the U.S. will do whatever is necessary to help. Be tough and strong. We love you.
And of course, we'll keep you updated on what's happening in Spain. Now, though, to the latest following this weekend's deadly display by white supremacists and neo-Nazis in Charlottesville, Virginia. Last night, tiki torches gave way to candlelight as thousands of people took part in a candlelight vigil on the campus of the University of Virginia, singing songs and reading poems that hail from the civil rights movement. This as leaders in the white nationalism movement pledged today they will return to Charlottesville, though they did not say when. There are also reports tonight that both President Trump and controversial top advisor Steve Bannon both pleased with the president's controversial performance at his press conference Tuesday at Trump Tower. As you know, there are people on both sides of the aisle upset with President Trump's comments, blaming both sides for the violence in Charlottesville. But 3 House Democrats want to do something about it. They've unveiled a resolution that would formally censure the President of the United States. One of those co-sponsors is New Jersey Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman, Democrat who represents the 12th District, that's Central New Jersey. She joins us now by phone. Congresswoman Watson-Coleman, thank you so much for a few minutes.
Thank you for having me.
So first, before we get to the censure resolution, what was your personal reaction both to the scene in Charlottesville as well as to the president's comments on Tuesday?
So the scene in Charlottesville was not only heartbreaking, but it was very scary and very reminiscent of the kind of violence and disrespect for people that we experienced in decades ago. And so it just really stuns the sensibilities when you see it happening in real time now in the United States of America.
And your initial reaction when you heard what the president said from Trump Tower on Tuesday?
Well, what he said before that I thought was inadequate. What he tried to clean up I thought was getting there. What he said at Trump Tower is just not reflective of decent, humane leadership. I think that I understand that he's intellectually challenged and vocabulary challenges he has, so it isn't always easy for him to communicate in a way. But this is a very simple situation, and his anger and his poor lack of values and consideration for people different from him came out. He was unguarded. He shot again from the hip, but he was telling his truth. He's a racist. He is probably has no sense of responsibility as it related to the anti-Semitism that was spewed, or what those individuals, all of them, represented. Because when you think about who was there in Charlottesville, it was people who don't like blacks, don't like Jews, don't like those who have disabilities, don't like the LGBT community, don't like anybody other than who looks like them, acts like them, and speaks like them. And he stood up for them. And that's dangerous and disgusting.
And you think that in and of itself makes the president a racist?
I think the president has manifested his racism in the way he's lived his life and acted before he was president. I think he did it as he was gearing up his sort of political life with the whole birther movement. I think an outstanding and stunning manifestation of his racism is to put somebody like Beauregard Sessions in the position that he's in and allow him to roll back the kind of protections and consent decrees we have in place to protect people who've been abused, to roll back the issues of affirmative action, to roll back and question whether or not there is reverse discrimination if white folks are being discriminated against because of affirmative action. I think the President of the United States is a racist, not for what he did or didn't say. On this instance, that's just a further illustration of how inadequate and inappropriate his presidency is.
So what, in your mind, elevated the comments of the president on Tuesday to the level of formal censure, and why censure as opposed to a push for impeachment?
Well, first of all, I think that, there are articles of impeachment that have been drafted by members of Congress, so let us not forget that that is one of the tools that is being employed. However, this is another tool that allows us to, on the record, establish a sense of where Congress is on an issue that involves this president. It gives those members of Congress from the other side of the aisle who have tweeted their dismay and their concern and their distaste for racism, anti-Semitism, to be able to stand up in an official way and be counted. So it's just simply another tool.
Strong words and a strong resolution being co-sponsored by Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, Democrat from the 12th District of New Jersey. Congresswoman, thanks for a few minutes. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Up next, we're seeing an alarming spike in both hate groups and hate crimes. We're going to speak with a group that tracks both. They'll tell us what they think is going on and, more importantly, whether it could be stopped.